Welcome back, and in this second week we're going to focus on using Microsoft Excel a little bit more, but also acknowledging that it has some limitations that other statistical programs do not have. But again, we're going to use Excel for some statistics. We're going to get practice comparing two groups, so we're going to do a little more with the t-test. I want to mention that there's extra add-ons and things that you can pay for to allow you to do non-parametric methods. The other test that we'll do with the stat programs will allow us to do these. So we're not able to do much more than t-testing easily, or z-testing. So there's a reason why we would want to use non-parametric methods, and we'll cover that later in the course. We can use t-test. We can do one-way test comparing against a known population mean. We can do two-way tests where we're comparing two groups. We can do the one-sided or one-tail test and two-sided or two-tailed tests. So we'll talk about those a little bit more later. Whenever we do t-testing, we should at least assess normality. We should also look at doing equal and unequal variance. So we'll discuss the f-test more. We're going to do our descriptive analysis again. Also this time we're going to cover some chi-square tests. We're going to deal a little bit with correlation analysis. We've already done some of this, so we'll compare Pearson correlation and Spearman correlations. Again, Spearman is used for when your data are not normally distributed. So we'll cover how to assess that. Again, other stat programs do a lot better with assessing normality and dealing with non-parametric statistics. Also, we'll cover in this week regression, but again, Excel is limited. It primarily focuses on linear regression. So when we're examining other shapes other than lines, where it might be a curve or the outcome might be a yes-no outcome, where logistic regression is really common, Excel doesn't really allow that to be done very easily. So we'll cover the other programs for how to do that better later. So for this particular week, we're going to again re-emphasize descriptive statistics. I'm going to call out one of the limitations, like Excel, like it's a lot more labor intensive on our end on trying to be able to run the descriptive statistics for how a scientist or anybody who does stats would want to do it. If you have a stat program, it's much easier to just sort by or to do it by a bivariable. So we'll cover that later in this video, and you'll see very clearly with the other programs on why they're superior in that regard. So in this first kind of example we're going to go through, we're going to do the descriptive stats again among two groups to get us started. So descriptive stats are going to be done here for an age variable, where we have data that exists for people that are like, were e-cigarette users or never e-cigarette users from a university population, and we'll also break them into groups. So the first step will be to sort the data by categorical variable. So that's going to be the first step. Step 2, we can create new columns, or we can highlight the data for our descriptive stats, and we can color code to make it easier. And then the third is to run the stats on both groups. So we're going to switch out of Excel right now, and we're going to go to the actual or switch out of the PowerPoint to the data sheet. Now, these data were from surveys that were done through the MPH program with the tobacco-free program that was running, for a while there. So these data come from 2014 and from 2018, just to give you a little bit of a rundown. So this is 2014. We've got their rank from freshman to senior, their age, whether they were male or female, whether they were ever in a fraternity or a sorority, or currently are still active with one, military status, were they ever a veteran, or are they a veteran, were they ever in the service or not, Did they have smoking parents or not? Did they have a family history of asthma, family history of cancer? Do they live off campus? Do they have in-state residency for EKU, or are they out of state or international? Non-smoker, ever e-cigarette user? Did they use an e-cigarette in the last 30 days? Their opinions on the policies, and so we'll cover some of that more later. And so for this first question, I think I was asking for you to compare ever e-cigarette users by age. So we have a question here. We want to know, is there an age difference among people who have ever used e-cigarettes or not? So what's kind of the average age of the college students at EKU who ever used e-cigarettes versus the college age students who have not used e-cigarettes? So how might we do that? Well, most stat programs would allow you to run descriptive statistics really quickly on this particular variable here, age, by this particular ever used e-cigarette variable that's coded 1 and 0. Well, we don't have that luxury here, so we have to deal with this differently. And later we're going to do a t-test on these two different groups, and we might want to just go ahead and sort them now and separate them. So it's a pain, it is a real pain, and I don't like using Excel for this reason, but if it's all you got, then I guess you're stuck using it. So one thing that we can do to help make this process easier is I can highlight this right here. So I've highlighted it all yellow. I don't want to do that. Actually, I've sorted this once already. So if you haven't already done a sort, I don't want to do the thesaurus. If you haven't already done the sort, go ahead and expand selection, largest to smallest. It doesn't matter, you can do it smallest to largest. So I can see all of my ones here. So these are coded as 1 and 0, which is a very common coding scheme used for yes, no variables. So I'm going to highlight everything from 415 all the way up to almost the top, and I'm going to, actually I'll go ahead and color code the top too and make this all yellow for my own good here. And if you want to, you can add borders so you can see things more clearly when it's yellow. Now I'm also going to copy this, or I can cut it, but I can go ahead and I'll copy this, and I'm going to move all of this stuff all the way over here. And I'm going to keep a gap between these because I'm going to create two data sets. And I guess it won't let me do it that way. So I've got all my yellow ones. And this is a tedious copying and pasting endeavor that is absolutely preventable with a stat program. So when we go up here to the top, I'm pasting all this stuff over here. Alright, so now you can see that this column is shorter than the other. Why? All these ones that I have pasted over here that are yellow are all the ever used e-cigarette group. Alright? They're all ones. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to get rid of all of them over here. And again, this is a tedious endeavor. What I'm doing is I'm creating a column or a set of columns on one side for the ever e-cigarette users, and then another set of columns with all the connected data for never e-cigarette users. So I have moved all the way over to this side, and I want to get rid of all of the these ones here, all these people. that are yellow right now. I'm going to go ahead, and I've already got them highlighted, if I remember right. Maybe I don't. Yes, I've already got them all highlighted, this whole section. See, they're all highlighted here. I'm going to delete them, and I'm going to not delete the row, don't delete the column, because if you delete the row, it's going to get rid of all that stuff we just added. I'm not deleting the column either, because I want to keep the headers. I'm going to delete all these things that I highlighted. I'm going to shift all the cells up. Well, that didn't work. Alright, so I'm going to have to re-highlight all these. It's tedious. And I can't apologize enough, but it's the program. I mean, this is how you gotta make it work. So I'm going to delete all of these cells. So this is shift cells left. I don't want to shift the cells left. I want to shift the cells up. All right, now I've shifted the cells up. So over here, now I've got in this group right here, all these people are people that are the e-cigarette never users. So they've never used e-cigarettes, nor have they ever used them in the last 30 days. So now we can compare these. We've essentially got two data sets that we've had to create based off of one variable. And that is not necessary in other programs. Other programs know how to function with a by variable. Excel doesn't do so hot in that regard. So, with regards to this, what was the question at hand? The question at hand is we were curious about the descriptive stats on age, and then later we're going to do t-testing. We're also going to do some chi-square testing using this information. So, the t-testing by age. So, we're not going to do t-testing yet. We're going to go ahead and do our data, and if you remember right, we had the data analysis, and I might have to re-add it. That's another, I have to Excel add in, I have to go to tools and have to re-add the analysis tool pack back to it. Alright, so it's back, and now I should be able to do the data analysis. Tools, data analysis. And now I'm interested in the descriptive stats by age, and the input range here is right there. All I did was just click the whole column. Choose at least one statistical option. We're going to do the summary statistics, and there are labels in the first row. And when I run it, here is the mean age, and I can even change the name of this so that I know. Age of never e-cig users. Alright, so the mean age is 20.08. Let's go over to the other group. The mean age of the ever use e-cigarette users, they're all coded as 1. So let's look at this one. Tools, data analysis, descriptive statistics, and now I don't want that particular group. I have to scroll over, and it's AH in mine. So AH, run the descriptive analysis, and then here we go. And we can see the descriptive analysis says that it's 19.955. So it seems to be a little bit less. Now, you might be interested in saying, is there a statistically significant difference between those two groups? And for that, we can potentially use a t-test. But whenever we use a t-test, there's a couple things we're supposed to look for. And one of them is much easier to look for in other stat programs, which is assessing normality. But we'll use the best approach that we can do for free with Excel going forward. And then we will look at variance. So I'm going to do that in the next video. So I'm going to stop this one. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. But Excel makes it harder to teach because there's less coding and more clicking and pasting type stuff. So I'm going to stop here and let me know if you have questions.